Kelly, roll call.
Mr. Frank Valley, Ms. Janice Warner,
Here.
Ms. Dana Gamblin, Mr. Walt Matthews,
Here.
Mr. Gary Gundelsberger, Ms. Sharon Johnson,
Here.
Ms. Allison Well.
Here.
Okay. Okay, so you may swear them in.
Anybody wishing to give testimony today, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, been sworn in. Okay, so we need approval of previous meeting minutes from July 28th, 2020. That was sent to us.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for July 28th.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying, oh, can I do that or do a roll call? Roll call?
No, wrong call on the
Can I do
minutes.
my, all in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposing, same sign. Okay, I forgot, I think we do roll call here. Okay.
And just roll call when we do the vote on
Okay, the
the,
vote, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So old business, I see that there's none. New business, 20-05, Laura Duncan, owner of D&G Properties. Is there someone here for that case?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Laura.
She is appealing the first administrative penalty for 609 Harrison Street, Sandusky, Ohio, 44870, parcel number 59-00355.000.
And you all have her appeal form in your packet.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So who wants to do you,
Yeah, this is, the property is owned by D&G Properties LLC, and they don't own any other properties within the city. This is a single-family residence, and it was purchased on June 8th, 2012, for undisclosed amount of money. The tax mailing address is listed by the Erie County Auditor as 135 East Oneida Trail, but section, this, I'm having problems with this today. It's going to be fun. The section 4.2F of the Civil Rules of Procedures require that a corporation be notified by serving the agent authorized by appointment or by law to receive service of process, and that appointing authority is the Ohio Secretary of State. And some of this stuff is going to be redundant, but because this is an adjudication hearing, and if it gets appealed to common pleas court, these are the things that we have to prove. So that their registered agent is Heather O'Keefe, and her address is P.O. Box 601, Castalia, Ohio 44824. And I gave all that information to you, so I submitted it as Exhibit A, and that would be proof of property ownership, civil rules of procedure, the Ohio Secretary of State website, registered agent, and then the code violations. They were cited for code violations from a triennial exterior inspection performed on November 7th, 2019. The notice of the code violations was mailed to D&G Properties, care of Heather O'Keefe, at that Castalia address on November 8th, 2019 by certified mail and regular mail, evidenced by a certificate of mailing. It was cited for a violation of Section 1341A4 of the Environmental Health Housing Code. The exterior of the garage, it was not the house, it was just the garage, had several areas that were missing paint, and those areas need to be painted or sided. The certified mail receipt was signed by Laura Duncan on November 15th, 2019. And then the pictures and the notice of code violation certified mail receipt submitted as Exhibit B. There is the picture of the garage on 11/7/2019. There is the notice of violations. Here is the certified mail receipt. And I'm going through the administrative penalty evaluation. This is section 134104B of the Environmental Health Housing Code. Whenever a person violates or fails to comply with any of the provisions of this chapter, the Housing Code Compliance Officer shall have the authority to impose an administrative penalty. The Housing Code Compliance Officer shall consider the following criteria when assessing the penalty: the extent to which the person is benefited by the violation, the degree of harm to the public health, safety, welfare, and aesthetics as a result of the violation, the recidivism of the person, including previous notices and orders to comply and previous enforcement action, and the good faith effort of the person to remedy the violation, and the duration of the violation after a notice and order to comply was served. The first penalty, the first offense, is a fine up to $100. In this case, Dante fined her $50. For a second offense, it's up to $500, and for a third offense, it's a fine up to $1,000. On the first reinspection was performed on July 15th of 2020. No, that's when you mailed a courtesy inspection and it was delayed because we had COVID. First of all, when the winter months hits, he pretty much puts those files on hold because we know that people can't paint during the winter months. And then, I guess March, was it March?
April, I think hers was April 1st, I want to say, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but March, the COVID hit.
Yeah, March.
We were all sent home. When code compliance officer came back to work, they were not doing inspections. They were actually mowing city property. So it took us a while before we actually got back into the swing. So this, Dante finally sent out a notice of reinspection on July 15th this year. And it was mailed to Heather O'Keefe, the registered agent, by certified mail, certificate of mailing. And that was just to let her know that a reinspection was going to be performed on August 19th, 2020. Both of those came back not deliverable as addressed. I'm not sure why. I know that here lately our mail has been messed up, and I'm sure it's something to do with COVID, but because this was a courtesy notification, it really wasn't required to be served, so we just didn't send it again. And the first reinspection then was performed on August 19, 2020, and the violations had not been corrected. The first administrative penalty in the amount of $50 was issued on August 20th, and because the previous mail addressed to the registered agent was returned as not deliverable, an invoice was mailed to D&G Properties LLC at that tax mailing address of the Oneida Trail, which is permitted under those civil rules of procedure when you don't get service. And then the certified letter was returned, marked unclaimed, and service was perfected then by the regular mail that was evidenced by the certificate of mailing receipt. The pictures, the administrative penalty evaluation, the invoice, the return certified mail, and certificate of mailing receipt is submitted as Exhibit C. And you guys have seen this because it's on your packet. And those were the undeliverable letters. And then this is the reinspection on August 19th, 2020. And this is the administrative penalty evaluation. If you looked at that, Dante went through all those lists of criterias and gave you the reason why he actually submitted that $50 penalty. And then that's the invoice. That's the unclaimed mail. That's the certificate of mailing receipt. And then this is the recap. On November 8th, 2019, the triennial rental inspection was performed and a violation was found. On November 15th, the certified mail was signed by Laura Duncan. On July 15th, I got 2019 there, it's actually 2020, that's a typo. The courtesy notice of reinspection was mailed to the current owner and was returned undeliverable. However, the certificate of mail, oh no, it was returned. I don't know why I got that in there. And then the first reinspection was performed on August 19th, 2020, and there was no compliance. And then Dante issued the first administrative penalty on August 20th. And on August 25th, the owner appealed. This is what it looks like today. She has come into compliance. This was actually taken today. And the law is that Section 1341-13A of the codified ordinances of the city requires that all exterior surfaces of buildings on a premises shall be clean and maintained in good repair so as to provide a sufficient covering and protection of the structural surface underneath against deterioration with paint, stucco, aluminum, vinyl siding, or other approved exterior grade waterproofing materials applied in an approved manner and of a uniform color and appearance to match or complement the other structural surfaces on the premises. Without limiting the generality of this section, an exterior surface of a building shall be deemed to be out of repair if the structure is blistered, cracked, flaked, scaled, or chalked away, or is loose, or has fallen. And the code compliance recommendation is that after having been provided service with the notice of violations mailed on November 8th of 2019, and after 10 months, the owner failed to put forth a good faith effort to remedy the violations and finally completed them on September 17th of 2020. Although repaired now, when the administrative penalty was issued, the garage shed was not maintained in good repair to provide a sufficient covering and protection of the surface underneath. And the violations did impact the surrounding neighborhood by being aesthetically unappealing and having a negative impact on the surrounding property values. And it's recommended that the Housing Appeals Board deny the appeal and order the repair of the garage, which she has already done. But we still would like you to uphold that $50 penalty, because even though she complied, she did not comply until after she received it. Dante, do you have anything to say?
No, that's pretty accurate there.
So Jude.
And if you would like to testify, you can step up to the podium, state your name and address, and then plead your case.
Hello, my name is Laura Duncan. I'm the owner of 609 Harrison Street in Sandusky. There were several things that were stated at the beginning of this that were incorrect.
Can you speak up, please?
Yes. Should I take this off or just? Okay. Before all this happened and I got the order of violation on October 15th, I spoke with Kelly because I discontinued my P.O. box. So I let her know my new address was 135 East Oneida Trail. She said, hang on a minute, and she corrected everything in the computer. Did you verify that? Do you remember?
Yep.
Okay, so that was before I ever got the notices. Also, I do own other property in Sandusky. I own 2289 Fallen Timber, which is also a duplex rental. I've also owned other properties in Sandusky, which I recently sold due to health problems. I've never been written up before. I always take good care of my properties. Another issue is about the LLC. I am the sole owner of that. The statutory agent, Heather O'Keefe, and it's now Sprague, was only put on the LLC upon my death so that since I'm the sole owner, if anything ever happened, she could run the LLC business for me. So a lot of the stuff that has happened, like those July letters, today is the first time I've ever even heard about a July letter. I had no knowledge of that because I never received it. Those were sent to the P.O. box.
That was not required.
That was just a courtesy.
Okay, well,
The
regardless, that would have been my final warning, which I never did receive. When I did get my first notice, I brought those in personally to code enforcement and showed them to Angie because I got a certified letter and another letter, one of which the directions stating how you're supposed to comply was completely blank. The other one I have with me is like barely legible. She said, well, you can read this one, that's good enough. And she said I had to have a certified painter do the work. And I said, well, I own the property. I can't paint the shed. It's just a shed. It's not even a garage. It's not even visible from the road. So as far as it being a detriment to the neighborhood or anything, it's not even visible from the road. So I don't understand that. But I was gonna comply anyway. I didn't understand why I couldn't paint it myself. So the time started getting closer. I couldn't find a contractor except for only one that ever called me back out of like 6 was a man who wanted $2,900 to side a shed, and which is outrageous amount. And so I thought, well, I'm just gonna have to paint it myself. But she had told me I couldn't. I called Dante on March 10th because I knew the deadline was coming in April, and I asked for an extension. He told me I did not have to have one yet. Call him the first week of April and see if I had it done. And he also told me I could paint it myself. So, first of all, I couldn't read the paper with the directions on it. Then I'm told I have to have a certified painter. Then Dante tells me, no, I can paint it myself. I mean, how are people supposed to know how to comply? I gave you my correct address. That wasn't done properly. It's
So
just
if
been
I could really quick
series.
speak on the address. The address was updated for rental registration purposes. If the property owner does not register, or does not update their address with the Erie County Auditor, then therefore their tax mailing address stays their previous address. And in this case, the address was not updated with the auditor.
Yes.
Our system goes off of the auditor page except for rental registration purposes.
I
So-
did call the auditor, and I had also done that, so they were aware. And believe me, I got my tax bills, and all my taxes are paid. But I did let the auditor know. The same day I called you, actually, I had a list of everybody I needed to notify, and they were also notified. So anyways, so that was March 10th, I called Dante. He said, you don't need an extension, just try to get it done. Okay, 12 days later is when the state shut down all non-essential business for COVID, 12 days later. 3 days after that, I called Dante because I knew that deadline was coming to get it painted. I hadn't got it done all winter because you can't paint in winter. He said he was working from home, and he said to let him know when I got it done. I said, okay. 6 days later, the deadline's looming. I called Dante to request an extension as he asked me to. I left a message, he never called me back. I left the details about my address and everything, he never called me back. I couldn't find a contractor. Shortly thereafter, I started getting sick. I don't know if I had COVID or not, but I did not feel good for quite a few months. I also had a friend that died of COVID, and this has been extremely stressful. So in August 20th, I received a letter of penalty. That's when I asked for an appeal, and that I had a verbal misunderstanding, because the last time I spoke with Dante, he did say to call him back when I had it done, and that you were working from home. And so, hey, when I got that warning or whatever, I just don't think it's right that the last time I talked to you, you had said, call me when it's done. So,
Can I rebut? So for extensions, as we know, usually every 2 to 4 weeks, or in some cases, in the wintertime, we do inspections, we come back in the spring, but I don't think I've ever told anybody to call me when it's done. We were in the COVID, which meant we were working from home, and I was cutting grass, so we weren't allowed to do inspections. So the people who got re-inspection courtesy letters is when we were able to get back out and do our jobs. So we didn't even do inspections until August. So that re-inspection letter you got in July was to inform you that we would be back around. So once I started doing that, I'd already looked to see if the job was completed before we even send the courtesy notice out. So your extension was from March till September, so to speak.
but I never got the letter in July, your courtesy letter.
I understand, but we wrote you up in November, and we said we'll be back April 1st, but due to COVID, everything was shut down, so therefore, all that time. And yes, I did state you could paint it yourself if you were, able to do it. Some people do paint their sheds, on their own. I don't know what type of work you do. So that's, you're able to handle it yourself, that's fine. But, we would never tell you not to paint it yourself.
Well, Angie did. She said I had to have a licensed painter, which she's not here, so she can't testify to that. But I did end up painting it myself. I had no choice. I wasn't going to pay almost $3,000 just to or have a shed sided, so.
Right.
I did apologize to you on the phone about any miscommunication. I've always been respectful.
Right.
You know, I've had other things go on with code enforcement that involved other properties and other neighbors, and I've always been more than respectful and polite to everybody. And it was just a misunderstanding, among other things, with the address thing. I didn't get the letter, and so I still would just like to ask that you would dismiss my penalty due to all this misunderstanding. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I would like to just clarify something. Our code requires, if you do not live in the property yourself, if you are to site it or do electrical work or plumbing, you would have to get a certified registered contractor, somebody that's registered with the city to complete it. So I'm not sure if the misunderstanding here was maybe she was going to site it in the beginning. She would have had to get a contractor. If she was going to paint it, she would not have.
Oh, okay.
And our pictures are taken from the street. They're not allowed to go in your yard, so that picture that you see is taken from the street. So it's visible.
It's a tiny little driveway.
I know, when I do my inspection, I gotta inspect your whole property as well as your garage. Every rental property gets that type of inspection.
So does anyone have any questions?
How long did it take you to paint that little
Long
building?
time. I had my daughter help me some, but I had to scrape it all, and it was not fun. I also have a lot of, my back is fused, my neck's messed up, and I could not afford to pay anybody, so it took about a week. I did it myself.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Okay, so this communication thing has been straightened around. You got all that straightened around in case the city needs to contact you again on your properties?
Today is the first day I've known about this. I had talked to Kelly and gave her my new address way back in October before I ever got my first letter. So, and then I keep getting letters that says, goes to my daughter in P.O. Box, which I told you had been eliminated, but yet you still send letters there, even though I told you that's been eliminated. I have them right here repeatedly. There's letters sent to my daughter.
Right, the law tells us, that's why I put that in there, the civil rule procedure, when we serve a corporation, we have to serve the registered agent. That's what they're appointed specifically to do, is to receive service of notice for the corporation.
Okay, well, that's all been resolved and redone in October before any of this. The state,
She's still listed as your registered agent, so you definitely want to change that with the Secretary of State.
but it's not that address. The PO was changed on that. The address with the state is East Oneida, which is my residence.
This is the state.
No,
Here it is, if you'd like to see
I
it.
didn't bring my printed one, but I have it at home. I could have brought it.
You see the address there?
Mhm, that's all been corrected.
This was,
That's-
No, I just did this.
this was
I just printed this
last week.
off. Yeah.
Okay, I can
So-
bring mine in if you guys need to see that. I don't understand why it's still on there. when
I would
I
reach,
have the papers from the state.
right, I would follow up with them though, to make sure that they correct that.
Well, I guess
'cause
I
it's
need to
very
bring a
important.
copy to you and the auditor, even though the auditor already has it. I just don't understand.
No,
why
your
that-
tax mailing address is the Oneida Trail address, but as a corporation, we have to make service. If we don't get service on the registered agent, that's when we can use your tax mailing address.
That's fine, but like I said, I have the copy at home where I fixed all that with the state. I'm registered at that address. The PO is no longer on there, so I don't know.
They haven't changed it for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I would, I
Have it
would
at
get
home
with
in
them.
writing. I don't know.
Amanda,
I did get service at that
when,
address.
how did you communicate with this gal here after her agent didn't reply back or whatever?
Just when we sent it then to the Oneida address.
So the agent did get the communication and she got in contact with you, or?
The first letter that we mailed to the registered agent, she signed the mail.
Yes, that was
That was at the P.O. Box in Castelia.
in November, the first one.
Okay, so the agent did sign. Okay, did the agent communicate with this lady over here?
Well, it's her daughter, I would hope so, because actually Laura signed, it was
This was
addressed
just
to the
in-
PO box, but
This was October,
It
this was
got
for the notice of
forwarded
the
to my
meeting.
home. It was forwarded, that's why.
Okay, but on the first communication, your daughter received this, and she told you about the letter?
No, my daughter never received anything because that PO box was.
Well, they
mine.
got her signature on it.
That was my signature. She never received anything. My PO box has been dissolved. It's my signature.
How did your signature get on that if it was sent to the agent?
It got forwarded to me because the PO box no longer existed.
unclaimed though. We got the
Okay.
letter.
And then the one in July was unclaimed. I never received it.
Okay, so you did open up the first piece of mail then?
Yes, I got it. Yes, I don't deny that.
Okay, and did you communicate with the city upon receiving that letter?
Yes,
Okay.
In March.
repeatedly. I have the dates here if you want them.
So I'm not understanding what's going on here then. Both sides say they've been communicating, and you received that first letter, and you called the city.
My first communication with her about the property was not until March. And I sent her that letter in November. So the following write-up was going to be, or the following inspection was going to be April 1. So, of course, COVID hit, and then we were shut down totally. And then that's when I explained to her, you got a little time here, we're going to be shut down. We don't know when we'll be back inspecting again. So once we started was July when she got the next letter, which she said she didn't receive. So, yeah, March through July is when we started reaching back out to her.
Any other questions?
Nope.
So what's the pleasure of the committee?
Could I make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I'd like to make a motion to excuse this appeal for this penalty for her due to miscommunications all the way around at 609 Harrison Street.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Can I just be sure, are you saying you'd like to dismiss the appeal, or,
Miss it, yeah.
Right, you want to grant the appeal. Right, you want to grant her appeal.
I don't want her to pay the fine.
Right, so you're going to,
Grant,
your
yeah.
motion is to grant the appeal.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second to that, that motion? Is there a second to that motion? So the motion dies for lack of second? Okay, so I'd like to entertain the motion.
Okay, so if this failed, can we hear from these two why they are not seconding it, or, you know, what concerns they have?
I don't think we can ask them that.
What?
I don't think we can ask them that. Everybody has a right to their opinion. So you can't ask them why they not going to second it. They just
Did you
wanna do
vote
it.
to, or did
I
you?
don't vote, I'm chairing right now.
Oh, you're the chairman.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So is there another motion?
I motion that she paid him $50.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded that we withhold, is that the right word? We
Deny the penalty.
deny the appeal.
Deny the appeal,
Okay,
yes.
all right. Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Opposing, same sign.
Mr. Walt Matthews, Miss Allison Will, Miss Janice Gamblin,
Janice Warner.
Janice Warner.
So used to have it,
Yes.
Dana.
So you're both.
Yes,
Janice Warner, Miss Sharon Johnson.
No.
okay.
The
Thank
appeal
you
is
so much. The
denied.
motion passed. Motion passed.
Next one's 309, Jeff.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm ready to leave now.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
All right. So next item under new business is 20-06, Jose, I hope I said that right, Jose Alberto Rodriguez, owner of Rocco Reynolds. LCC is appealing the second administration penalty for 309 West Jefferson Street, Sandusky.
here,
We
right?
got to swear them in, yeah.
Yeah, you can wait till we call you. You're going to have to be sworn in, though, because this is an adjudication hearing, so everything that you're giving testimony under oath. So if you would raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
Okay, this is 309 West Jefferson, and this is his appeal. That was in your packet. This is the property owners at Rocco Rentals, and they own the following properties in the city. 309 West Jefferson, it's a two-family residence purchased June 27th, 2018 for $55,000, and the taxes are current. 910 Wayne Street, it's a three-family residence purchased 7/31/2018 for $55,000, taxes are current. And it was written up in December of 2018 for missing paint on the fascia and window trims, but they complied and the case was closed on June 27th, 2019. And then 916 Wayne Street is a three-family residence purchased on December 9th of 2016 for $75,000 by Jose Rodriguez, who is incorporator of Rocco Rentals, LLC. And then it transferred to Rocco Rentals on July 31st, 2018. The taxes are current. There's no violations for that property on record, and they are all currently registered as rental units. The property owner is, the tax mailing address actually for Rocco Rentals LLC is listed by the Erie County Auditor as 330 J Street, number 603, San Diego, California, 92101. And then I just discussed with you the 4.2F of the Civil Rules of Procedure that requires that we serve the registered agent. And the agent registered with the Ohio Secretary of State to receive notice is Joshua J. Colvin, 820 Northwest Street, Bellevue, Ohio, 44811. And then the owner's information, civil rules, registered agent information from the Ohio Secretary of State's website is submitted as Exhibit A. There's the ownership. And this is the civil rules. And that's the registered agent information from the Ohio Secretary of State, listing Joshua J. Colvin. The code violations, it was cited for code violations from a triennial rental inspection performed on January 2nd, 2018, under the previous owner. Rocco Rentals became the owner on June 27th of 2018, and the new owner was mailed the notice of code violations on February 12th, 2019, by certified mail, regular mail, evidenced by certificate of mailing. It was cited for a violation of section 1341.13A4 of the Environmental Health Housing Codes. Several areas on the structure are missing paint, and those areas need to be painted. The certified letter was returned and marked unclaimed by the United States Postal Service. Therefore, service was perfected by the regular mail, evidenced by the certificate of mailing. The pictures, the notice of code violations, returned certified mail, and certificate of mailing is submitted as Exhibit B. There is the picture of the violations on January 2nd. It's really hard to see these, but it's up on the trim. Dante, you want to explain it a little bit better?
Yeah.
Because you really can't.
The exterior, that would be the west side of the house there. You got missing paint along that, all that from the front to the
On
rear.
the siding?
Yeah, the siding there is deterioration, missing paint along all the fascia trims, along the front windows. In that area there, you can see as well along the front windows trims there and below, on both top and below.
The only place I can really see in this picture is like right here where the, right above the porch, there's,
I have some more on there we get a better look at.
and this is the notice and order of violation. This was prior to, we got new software July, when we moved into the new building, actually, we were going through that. This was actually a checklist from our old database software that Dante used to use when he did all the inspections. And on this, it's actually checked that there are several areas around the exterior of the house that need to be painted. And then this is the unclaimed mail. And there's the certificate of mailing receipt. And then I just went through the administrative penalty evaluation with you, what the code requires, the extent to which the person has benefited, the degree of harm to the public health, safety, welfare, and aesthetics as a result of the violation, the recidivism of the person, good faith efforts to remedy the violation, and the duration of the violation after a notice in order to comply was served. And then first offense up to $100, second offense up to $500, third offense up to $1,000. Dante performed the first re-inspection on June 18th of 2019, and the violations had not been corrected. The first administrative penalty in the amount of $50 was issued on June 18th, 2019. An invoice was mailed to Joshua Colvin, registered agent, on June 21st, 2019, by certified mail and regular mail, evidenced by certificate of mailing. The certified letter was returned and marked unclaimed by the United States Postal Service, and then service was perfected by the regular mail, evidenced by the certificate of mailing. Pictures from the reinspection, the administrative penalty evaluation, invoice, returned certified mail, and certificate of mailing receipt are submitted as Exhibit C. This picture was taken June 18th, 2019. And you can see along the side of the house there that if you look at the trim, underneath the gutter, it's not painted. You can see the missing paint on the side of the house, where you see the dark and the light blue patches. You can see here too the porch trim. And then there's a part of this that's deteriorated on that second, I guess you would call it a half story, where it comes out right between,
The chimney area right there.
yeah, between the chimney and the, I don't even know what that's called. Yeah, dormer, I guess it would be a dormer. And here is this was the old database, and we did this by hand, and he basically said, it was unaesthetically appealing. It's the first violation for $50. Here was the notice. And if you notice, though, that I have it highlighted, when our database printed this out, it printed it to the previous owner, Ken Jordan. That's where it was addressed to him. The correct address is on there, though, to the registered agent in San Diego. And it was addressed correctly. And this is just part of the write-up. But it was addressed correctly. If you see this, the penalty information, Dante whited it out and wrote it in. And then he also had the correct address on the certified mail. And there's the certificate of mailing. But he performed the second reinspection on August 5th, 2019, and the violations had not been corrected. But because the first administrative penalty letter was addressed, even though we mailed it to the correct, I thought maybe he would be confused by that, so I made Dante re-mail that penalty. So we didn't go into the second administrative penalty. He got the first administrative penalty reissued in the amount of $50. And then we mailed it to Joshua Colvin, the registered agent, on August 6, 2019, by certified mail and certificate of mailing. And then the certified letter was returned and marked not deliverable as addressed. For whatever reason, the mail tracking report at the United States Post Office basically doesn't offer any explanation. It looks like they received it in San Diego. It never even went out to delivery, and they just sent it right back to Sandusky. So the pictures and all that information submitted as Exhibit D. Here's the pictures on August 5th, 2019. Nothing has been completed. That was the new administrative penalty that went out. Everything's corrected on there. And there it says not deliverable as addressed. And that's the certificate of mailing. The certificate of mailing did not come back, but here's the mail tracking report. And it arrived in Pasadena, it departed Pasadena in transit to the next facility. The next facility is Cleveland, Ohio, right back to us. So I went ahead and made the decision to let that first administrative penalty then stand because it was addressed correctly, even though the name on the actual invoice was wrong. The address was correct. And then Dante sent a courtesy notice of reinspection by certified mail, regular mail, evidenced by the certificate of mailing on October 22nd, 2019. The notice advised that the next reinspection would take place in November. The certified letter was returned unclaimed, and service was perfected by the certificate of mailing. And the information is submitted as Exhibit E. There is the courtesy notification. There's the unclaimed mail. And there's the certificate of mailing receipt. The inspection scheduled for November 20th was actually extended due to weather conditions and then extended further due to COVID-19. A courtesy notice of reinspection was mailed by certified mail and regular mail, evidenced by the certificate of mailing on July 8th, 2020. The notice advised that the next inspection would take place in August. And the certified letter was delivered by United States Postal Service on July 13th, 2020. And this is what's so good for us right now in this time of COVID. The post office delivers the mail. The postman actually signs it and says he delivered it. So we don't have to play the game when they don't claim it any further. It's delivered. So that was delivered in July of 2020. And the courtesy notice of reinspection certified mail receipt is submitted as Exhibit F. That was the courtesy notification. And that is the certified mailing receipt. So on the third reinspection performed August 9th, 2020, the violations had not been corrected. The second administrative penalty in the amount of $375 was issued on August 12th of 2020. An invoice was mailed to Joshua Colvin, and it was mailed to the San Diego address because he had requested Dante, right? To mail it there?
Yeah, he stopped in, and
Instead
the
of
actual
Bellevue.
owner stopped in from San Diego and said he wants all the paperwork coming to him instead of his, he wasn't a statutory agent any longer.
But he is, but we did send it to the owner as requested. And both certified letters were delivered, and it looks like we went ahead and sent it to the Bellevue address too, right?
I think we sent them to both, just
Both.
to be sure.
And they were delivered on August 31st, and the pictures submitted as Exhibit G, the pictures. Nothing has been corrected. The administrative penalty evaluation, which Dante said that it was aesthetically unappealing and it impacted the property values. And the first notice to comply was mailed on December 21st, 2018, and there has been no compliance achieved. And there is the notice of second administrative penalty, and it's for the amount of $425 because the first administrative penalty was not paid yet.
And the actual owner had that, so he's receiving the mail because he showed up with that letter, the penalty in his hands.
And that was the invoice. And the certified mail receipts to Rocco Rentals, care of Joshua Colvin in San Diego, and then the mail tracking report for the Bellevue address. It says it was left with an individual, because we didn't get the green card back. And then the recap is that January 2nd, 2018, the previous owner was cited for violations. June 27th of 2018, Rocco Rentals became the new owner. February 12th, 2019, the notice of code violations was mailed to the new owner. June 18th of 2019, the first reinspection was performed with no compliance. June 23rd, 2019, the first administrative penalty in the amount of $50 was assessed. accidentally addressed to the previous owner, even though that the mail went to the correct address, and the certified mail was returned unclaimed. August 5th of 2019, the second reinspection was performed, and the first administrative penalty was reassessed. October 22nd, 2019, the courtesy notice of reinspection for October was mailed to the current owner and was returned unclaimed. And on October 20th, 2019, due to weather conditions, the COVID-19 the reinspection date was extended. So July 8th of 2020, the courtesy notice of reinspection was mailed to the current owner. 7/13, the certified mail was delivered. On August 9th, the third reinspection was performed and there was no compliance. The second administrative penalty in the amount of $375 was assessed. And the property is now subject to mandatory semi-annual inspections for 4 years in which inspection fees are imposed. And on August 28th, the second administrative penalty invoice was mailed to the owner and the registered agent. Both certified mails were delivered on August 31st, and on September 4th, the appeal of the second administrative penalty was filed. And this is today. These are a little bit better pictures because Dante has a new camera. But if you see that first, I guess, half story, I don't know if it's a second story window, you can really see that the surface area underneath the structure was showing through. And you can really see on this picture too, where there is no covering on that dormer and it's deteriorated.
Is anyone living in that place? In the house?
Yes, sir. And if you can go back to the recent picture, you can see that the porch has been painted, the 3 lower windows have been painted. The front section window, the fourth window has been painted. We have started painting the windows and trim to get ready to paint the dark siding. But due to the last 5-6 days of rain, see how it's all nice and bright white now? The beam.
But sir, hey, listen, you started back in 18 painting this place,
No, I
correct?
didn't own it then.
Well, yes, you did. You owned it, can you go back when he took it over from the other guy?
The other owner, they were sending it, and I haven't lived at 820 Northwest Street for 3 years. That was the reason why the certified letters weren't being opened, and the reason why Alberto Rodriguez wanted all the letters sent, like he talked to you, Dante, is because he's been in here more than once to change the address to 910 Wayne Street, and they still go to the wrong address. The same as with the water bills too. We've been in here 3 times to change these addresses. So I don't understand why addresses are so hard, especially when certified letters are being mailed and they're not being received. You think there'd be like a cross-reference to find what's going on.
So we're
That
gonna
is
let,
being ignored.
we're gonna let Miss Amanda get done, and then you can have your opportunity to come up.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, the law says that we have to send it to the registered agent, which is
I understand
listed
that.
and it's still got the Bellevue Street address. Once the owner came in and told
Been
Dante
in here 3 times.
to send it to San Diego, that's when we started sending it to San Diego. And as far as the water bill goes, it's got to be addressed, it's got to be the property owner at his address.
And they were being sent wrong. That's why you came in and had to change it.
Does he live at 910 Wayne Street?
I live there now, yes, for 3 years.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that you change that with the Secretary of State so that
We've gone
you have
through
that.
it. That's what Alberto did what he did.
So section 1341-13A4 is the violation of the Environmental Health Housing Code that all exterior surfaces of the buildings have to be clean, maintained in good repair, and provide sufficient covering to protect the structure underneath. It is the code compliance recommendation that after having been provided service with the notice of violations mailed on February 12, 2019, and after 1 year and 8 months, the owner has failed to put forth a good faith effort to remedy the violations until recently. The structure is not maintained in good repair, so it's provides sufficient covering and protection for the structural surfaces underneath against deterioration, and the violations have impacted the surrounding neighborhood by being aesthetically unappealing and having a negative impact on the surrounding property values. And it's recommended that the Housing Appeals Board deny the appeal. and order the repair of the structure to be compliant with the Environmental Health Housing Code for the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the neighboring property owners and the community at large. I'd like to step up to the podium, your name, your address for the record.
Josh Calden, business partner with Rocco Rentals and Alberto Rodriguez. So we are there now. We are starting to paint and to repair, to take care of it, so it is aesthetically looks the way that it should. Other than that, the property is in perfect condition. The inside of it is all completely rehabbed and renewed. It's all new. We have great tenants. All of our properties are all maintained to the best that we can do them. This is the one that's just fallen behind. For the most reason, we weren't getting the certified letters, and that's why they were changed to Alberto's address in California, so he gets them specifically. And we're just waiting for the weather to clear up here now, too. Hopefully, we got 30 more days. We should have it done by then, as long as we don't have a hurricane or snow or nothing crazy. But that's our goal.
So you're gonna have this done. They've been talking to you since 2/12/2019. And now you're gonna get it done in a month.
We started this whenever Dante was there, you can see that the white trim was being done. Yes, we had other projects that we had going before that too that were in worse shape. So when we bought these properties, we bought these all at one lump. They were all in distressed condition from a local landlord here. So when we went through them, we did them as nice as we can do them. They're not cheaply done. They are nice rentals, and our tenants would definitely verify it.
But if you got a code compliance, wouldn't that make you say, oh, we better get this one done, and then we'll go back to the next?
Between
Wouldn't that make
COVID
sense? That would make sense though, right?
Between COVID and trying to find decent help, that's been really hard.
Okay.
But I've not received these letters. I mean, I'm the contractor too. I'm working on these. So I didn't receive any of these.
So in other words, you're saying they didn't send them out?
What's that, sir?
You're saying they did not send them out?
Oh, they sent them out, but I didn't receive them. They didn't send them the right
How do you know they
address.
sent them out then if you didn't receive them?
What's that again?
How do you know they sent them out? You say
I
you
just
didn't
seen on
receive
on the picture here that you sent them out. That's how I know.
them? Okay.
So you didn't get notice of the first
I got
administration?
nothing. They were sent to my ex-wife and she didn't let me know anything. She didn't sign them. She
But
didn't.
the gentleman that you sent him to in,
San Diego,
is he the owner?
correct,
So someone knew there was a $50,
right.
And this fine was sent to me
Yeah,
underneath my name.
He ended up paying them for you when he was here.
For me though, but why did I get the fine if I'm not the owner?
You're the statutory agent, everything.
Then why
goes
wasn't it
to
sent to 910? I mean, that's why I'm confused with the address and the mailing. You said that I wasn't that just a
tax
minute
mailing.
ago.
Tax mailing address is still.
But didn't you
your-
say I wasn't that with Alberto a little bit, that I didn't represent that?
He just came in a month ago. and
No, he didn't come in a month ago. It was more than that because he comes and he stays with me every visit.
When he changed the address of the mailing for that property, it was a month ago. That's when he changed it.
I can show you his plane trip too on my phone
What
and
was the date
verify
on
that's
that?
more than a month
September
ago.
4th.
September 4th is when he was in and changed that.
Okay.
And I've been speaking with him for over a year about this property. And I've given him breaks in time and everything else. I work with him. So, and we're still in the same shape as,
Well, I think we're a little bit in better shape with the windows. That's where it starts, was with the white trim. We're redoing the whole
Right.
trim of the house. You do the white trim first, we're caulking them,
I
then we'll do the
understand.
color trim.
I understand.
Now, as far as aesthetics too, I want to ask something too. The house next to that right now has been abandoned for over 2 years. It's been empty, if I'm correct, and the lawn is usually about waist high. Then on the other side of me, there's a lady who's had a kitchen dining room set in the backyard since we've owned the property, amongst some other trash. So why aren't those pictures being taken care of or handled too, right next door? I'm just curious, because aesthetically, that's a lot worse than some painted trim that's peeling.
Usually, well, these properties here are on my list for every 3 years. I have to go through and check every rental property.
Right, but my
But I'm
question
not
is, why
able
aren't
to
they
go-
being?
I'm not able to go in any backyards.
No, it's not a
or anything
backyard.
from-
It's right next door to me. You can see it right next door.
I'm gonna stop,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stop there. We're gonna
Right,
get back
right.
to 309 West Jefferson Street.
There you go.
And we're here to talk about 2 administrative penalties.
Okay.
So, any more questions from the committee? Do
I
you have
have a
anything else
question.
you'd like to ask?
No, ma'am, I
I
don't.
have a
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
Okay, so you're not the owner, you're the statutory agent?
I am the business partner of Rocco Rentals. Me and Alberto are in a business partnership with Rocco Rentals.
Okay, who's the statute?
He is the one who owns it, I guess, on the deed, but it still is
Who's-
run through Rocco
No, I'm
Rentals.
asking, who is the agent? Who is the agent?
I was the agent, and I guess Dante said that when he came in here, and he signed it off because he wasn't getting the certified letter over the mail or anything. That's what I was told from him.
We were sending them to both addresses, yours in Bellevue and his in San Diego,
Okay.
which in January is when we finally, of last year is when he finally reached out to us and we started correspondence.
Okay.
But until then, everything was going to you
Yeah, I didn't,
as being the statutory agent. So
okay.
he was saying that you're not anymore and he wants everything coming to him.
Okay. Whatever that means, I know the reason was because he wasn't getting the mail, but that's what he told me.
So
It's still under the business.
Wait a minute. So the guy in San Diego is the owner?
Correct.
Okay. And he's communicating with you?
He has
And is this guy, what's his position? Is he the property manager or what?
He's supposed to be his property manager / statutory agent.
He's still the registered
He's
agent.
still the registered
listed with the
agent.
Secretary of State.
Okay. How did the owner get his communication?
What happened was we wasn't getting much from him, so we dug and we finally found out who the real owner was, and we just happened to send him a letter. So that's what started our correspondence with the owner.
You'll get
We
nothing
wasn't
from
hearing
me.
anything back from him, so we went to the owner, and then we got,
So he's up here on behalf of the owner then?
correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I think once again, we're talking about the second administrative penalty. What's the pleasure of the committee? Need a motion?
How much is it?
$425.
That's two penalties. The first one is 50 and the other one is
Yeah,
375.
and
Okay,
he's just
so it's a
appealing
total
to
of-
375.
Oh, he's a okay, 375, the second. So it's 375. And that's less than what it's supposed to be, right? I think it's $500 for the second
Yep.
penalty.
It's supposed to be 5.
It's supposed to be 5 and
But we
Mr.
get
Schiff.
375.
Okay.
discount to 375.
Well, I don't have any more questions here, because my motion is, we get to 375.
So you're going to deny the appeal.
That's right, deny it.
So is there a second to Mr. Walt's motion to deny the appeal?
I second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, those in favor? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Mr. Matthews.
Yes.
Miss Will.
Yes.
Sorry. Miss Janice Warner.
Yes.
Miss Sharon Johnson.
Yes.
I have one question. So you said in 30 days you guys will have that done then?
Well, it's just weather depending. I'm hoping that weather works with us. I wasn't, around here, we've had like weather to the 1st December, and we've had snow already,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
so it's just trying to swing and miss. I didn't, especially up here by the lake. Thank you.
Well, we thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Number 3, 2007, Bruce Klein went to the bathroom. He went to the bathroom. So he'll be right back.
Well, you know, these people, they just.
While I was trying to think of her name to get it right, I was messing up on.
My question, I have a question.
Every
It's
time
the
the guy
rule.
comes here,
Get it done.
the owner
Or at
always
least
say
start-
he's there working on it. I ride by him, we never see him there.
Oh, okay. So what does it matter if they're a statutory agent?
That's all he was doing.
What?
What does it matter if they're a statutory agent or not? What does that matter?
It's for the purpose of service.
LLC.
So when you're a corporation, normally it's just a name,
So are they responsible?
D&G Corporation.
city
We don't have
had to do
anybody
a
to
lot of work.
serve the notice to. It would just go
It's
to the
just what you
corporation,
have
get
to pay the
lost.
fine.
So by law, they're required to register with the Secretary of State just to, somebody to get service. And that's what they do. They just receive service.
So they're responsible for making the payment?
No, they're responsible for getting
Correspondence
service.
and service, so
So if we were
Who's
going to
responsible
go,
to pay the penalty?
the owner,
the corporation,
The statutory agent.
no, the
no,
corporation.
the owner.
The one who owns the LLC.
Okay. I was like, what does statutory
And-
agent? I'm the
and
owner, I
paint
have to
job.
pay.
Right.
Having issues right now, because that's all confusing, that when we've got a couple corporations that are not registering their rentals, we can't collect because they're limited liability companies. Normally, we would send them to a collection agency, can't collect from them. So I got with the prosecutor, we're starting to prosecute them, and it's been a process to find out how we actually prosecute a corporation.
Okay, all right. All right,
It's confusing.
Yes, it is.
come on, Walter, we're gonna be gone by 4:30.
Okay,
Yeah, that was a
Next
big
item
one.
is-
That's a big one, ain't it?
Yeah. 2007, Bruce Klein is appealing the second administration penalty for 1219 Central Avenue.
And he's appealing the first administrative penalty. Here is his
Doing the
appeal,
first and second?
no, just the first, right?
Oh, this is appealing the
Oh,
second.
This is the second.
Appealing the second, okay, sorry. Okay, and this property is owned by Bruce and Barbara Klein, and their tax mailing address is 1219 Central Avenue, but they also own 3 other properties in Erie County. 1219 Central Ave is a single-family residence purchased July 24th, 1997 for $96,000. Taxes are current. 1019 Cove Street is a boathouse that they purchased on July 9th, 1999 for an undisclosed amount. The taxes are current. And 12811 Weichel Road, Milan, is a single-family resident purchased on February 20th, 2004 for $110,000, and the taxes are current. And 1219 Central Ave is not registered as a rental property, but their tax mailing address is actually 1219, so we're not sure the status of that property. But the owner's information from the auditor's website submitted as Exhibit A. This is the Central Ave tax mailing address of 1219 Central Ave. The Cove Street Boathouse has a tax mailing address of 1219 Central Ave. And then the Weichel Road address in Milan, Ohio actually has a tax address of 1219 Central Ave, so we assume that this is owner occupied. The code violations of the property was inspected on September 6th due to a complaint received in regard to peeling paint, and this was actually September 6th, 2018. They were cited for a violation of Section 1341-13A4 of the Environmental Health Housing Code. The exterior of the residence has several areas that are missing paint. Those areas will need to be repainted or recited. There's also several window trims that are missing paint. The notice of violation was mailed to the owner by certified mail, regular mail, evidenced by a certificate of mailing. The certified mail receipt was left with an individual at the address on September 8th, 2018. Pictures, the notice of code violations, and the USPS mail tracking report submitted as Exhibit B. Here's a picture of the property. You see several areas missing paint, shutters, the surface area, trim. And this, because it was 2018, we're using the old database. This was the old form. Dante had marked the exterior of the residence has several areas that are missing paint. Those areas will need to be repainted, recited, and several window trims that are missing paint. And that was mailed, and this is the USPS mail tracking report. Says your item was delivered to an individual at the address at 11:04 a.m. on September 8th in Sandusky, Ohio. And this was our administrative penalty evaluation. This is the code, once again, the extent to which the person is benefited, the degree of harm, the recidivism, good faith efforts, and the duration of the violation after notice. First offense up to 100, second offense up to 500, third offense up to 1,000.
Could I ask about the pricing on this? Because I had already paid a $50 one, and I never see $50 in any of these. And then I've got some paperwork that says $375, but the last fine that I actually wrote a check for and gave to the girl at the window, that was $250. And when I told him I wanted to protest this or, speak out for it, that she gave me the check back.
That was actually me, and if you're appealing it, I can't take the payment.
Yeah, I
Because we
didn't
can't
understand
reimburse
that
it.
Because I had 10 days to get the paperwork back, and I did bring it back.
Right, but you appealed it, so therefore I
Okay.
can't accept your payment until the board either grants or denies your appeal.
Well, that was the thing I didn't understand, is, I paid it, you kept the check and then give it back when I brought.
Yeah,
my
I cannot
appeal.
put it in our system.
Yeah, let Miss Amanda finish and then you can have a right to.
Please?
Yeah.
Miss Amanda finish and then you can come express your
Sure,
concerns.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
On February 1st, 2019, a notice of violation was mailed to Bruce Klein by certified mail, regular mail, evidence by certificate of mailing, advising that a reinspection would be performed in April of 2019. The certified mail was signed on February 5th of 2019. And this was delayed probably because it was February, so we went into April for the weather. At this time, the code compliance officer was having technical issues with his camera, which you probably saw in some of these pictures. And the code compliance office also updated a new software program, and as a result, some of the pictures from that inspection, they were lost. So we don't have pictures from that inspection, unfortunately. But the first administrative penalty in the amount of $50 was issued on September 18th, 2019. A final notice for the payment was mailed on February 6th, 2020, by certified mail and regular mail evidence by certificate of mailing. And the certified mail was signed on February 13th by Bruce Klein. And those exhibits C are attached. There's the notice and order of violation. There's the signed mail. And this is the administrative penalty evaluation, and I'll explain this a little bit more to Mr. Klein. On the first administrative penalty, when it is issued, he fills out a sheet that with those 5 criteria, and he determines an amount up to, it could be a $100 fine. In this case, he issued first administrative penalty at $50 instead of taking it all the way up to $100. And on the second administrative penalty, that can be up to $500. And in this case,
It was $250.
I think it was $375.
$375.
Well, when I wrote this, am I allowed to continue?
Well, let's wait till I get through
Okay,
this,
so
we'll
then you
do.
can talk.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, I have a hard time remembering, and it's short term. And I
Yeah, I
don't think
understand.
age has anything to do with it.
I
No.
think
This is your $50 invoice that was issued and your certified mail that you signed for it. So that was the $50. That was the first administrative penalty.
He paid.
This is where you paid it. On July 15th, 2020, a courtesy notice for reinspection was mailed to Bruce and Barbara Klein by certified mail, regular mail, evidence by certificate of mailing. The certified mail was signed on July 20th. The property was reinspected on August 17th, and the violations were not corrected. The second administrative penalty was issued on August 19th, and a courtesy notification. The certified mail receipts, pictures, administrative penalty evaluation, and the penalty invoice are submitted as Exhibit D, which this is the courtesy notification of reinspection that was signed by both Bruce and Barbara. This is the house on August 17th of 2020, and it had not been painted. And then this is that administrative penalty evaluation where Dante said that it was aesthetically unappealing and the surrounding property values have been impacted, and the first notice to comply was mailed on 6/30 of 2020. That doesn't seem right. It was 2018. And the compliance achieved was none. And this is your invoice, and that the invoice shows, what's it showing there? Tell me, you
The
got it in front of you.
$50
$50
was paid, and the outstanding is $375.
And then this is the recap. On September 6th of 2018, it was the first inspection performed. The violation was discovered. September 8th, the certified mail was received the citation was received by a certified mail. On September 18th, 2019, so this was a year later, the second reinspection and a first administrative penalty in the amount of $50 was assessed. And then February 6th of 2020, final notice of payment for the first administrative penalty was mailed. February 13th, the certified mail was signed. February 19th, Mr. Klein paid the penalty. July 15th, courtesy notice of reinspection was mailed. July 20th, the certified mail was signed by Mr. Klein. August 17th, the second reinspection was performed with no compliance. August 19th, the second administrative penalty was issued. And this is what it looks like today. You sure can tell the difference with Dante's new camera, too.
Okay, if you, I'm not ready yet, I guess. Okay, just let me know.
Then, of course, the law is that section 1341, 13A4 that says that the structural surface underneath has to be protected. The code compliance recommendation is after having been provided service with the notice of violation mailed on September 6, 2018, and after 2 years, the owner has failed to put forth a good faith effort to remedy the violations. The structure is not maintained in good repair so as to provide sufficient covering and protection of the structural surface underneath against deterioration. And the violations have impacted the surrounding neighborhood by being aesthetically unappealing and having a negative impact on the surrounding property values. And it's recommended that the Housing Appeals Board deny the appeal and order the repair of the garage, or the garage shed, the house, to be compliant with the Environmental Health Housing Code for the health, safety, and welfare of the neighboring property owners and the community at large. If you would like to step up to the podium and state your name and address, or are those working? He probably sit there.
Yeah, he could probably do it.
If you can talk into the microphone,
Oh, sure.
if you're more comfortable.
Well, I got all my stuff here.
Okay.
Stand up, you say?
Oh, you don't have to. Stand.
Okay. My name is Bruce Klein. My wife and I own the property at 1219 Central Avenue. And I'm glad you got your camera fixed because it shows that the whole back half of that house has got brand new windows. And I figured, being I was told by my painter, who I have a signed contract, and he also came down here with me one day, and I think you were at the window that day.
Yes.
And she asked him the question, when do you think you can have it painted? And he said, in the spring. And I guess that wasn't an answer that they were ready for. I was hoping it was going to be done this year so I could be done with these letters and these fines, but that's not the case. I don't have control over him setting when he's going to paint it. I just say I like the price. And after I talked to Dante and I talked to John because somebody else wasn't in their office, they were in your office. So I couldn't get a hold of her, so I dialed the second number and I got a hold of John, and he said that you told me that, what was her name, Deb?
No, what we were trying to do was, not this year, I think this was last year, we tried to get you to take advantage of the HDB program, which is our beautification program.
Yes.
And once you get in that, you get another 6 months where we don't even re-inspect. So we were I was trying to get you into that program, and I don't know what happened.
I went to her for a grant.
Right.
And she said, well, if you paint it, you get X amount of dollars. And if you paint it and do windows, you get more. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the cheese out there at the end of the stick. Mm-hmm. So I went for the cheese and I had the window folks come and they put 13 windows in my house, and that's exactly half of the house. Those windows are up. The whole back wall has been re-sided with brand new siding. And I ask you, why don't you get out of your car? I saw you at the curb across the street. You never got out of your car. And I invited you on the property at that time to come by and see that indeed I am doing something with the house, and it's very costly. Well, I've put up all new siding. I've actually put a roof on. That was where it all started. It needed a brand new roof.
Do you have any pictures of this, sir?
I have no pictures of it at all, Mr. Matthews. That's why I invited him to the premises. If you come to my house and you park across the street, well, hell, you're already there. Come on in. I'll get you a glass of lemonade, but at least look what I've got done.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to establish, that I'm not sitting on my hands here, and I've been very sick the past couple of years. And when I told him that, he goes, oh, I already heard that stuff.
No.
Yes, you did, Dante. Now, don't ask me if I have a recording, because I don't.
I know for a fact I didn't say I already heard that stuff. If you told me
You
were
did.
sick,
I swear to God as my witness.
This board has heard me work with multiple people who have been sick before, so I'm not going for that one.
But did you understand the deadline of when this
No,
work needed to be done?
It
I
was
think that's
a,
how you access a penalty, is because you did not meet the deadline, am I correct?
well, I was not in control. The painter was.
So did you let us know that the painter needed more time?
No, ma'am, I didn't. I brought the painter down here. I didn't let you know, and
That's the reason why you were accessed a penalty, is because you did not meet the deadline. We appreciate all that you're doing now.
No, not now.
No, but you're just.
Back
telling me
in
you gotta do-
18.
Okay, 18.
And it's gone on to this
The
point.
purpose of this meeting is you did not meet the deadline. You paid the $50.
Yes.
Once again, Mr. Schiff gave you a discount because the second penalty should be $500.
And I didn't know the
So
fee
it's
system at all.
$375. So that's
And,
what it is.
and I have it in here, and when I give her the paper, I say, I don't even know how much I owe. I see $375, and then I see $250, and she says, oh, let me see your papers. I gave her my papers, she looked at it. She said, $250. Right then and there, I wrote the check and gave it to her.
So you're willing to write a check for $375?
I have the same check for $250.
Okay.
I have it in my
Okay,
envelopes
but that's
here.
why we're here, because of the
I paid the
second
$250.
administrative penalty of $375.
Well, I paid the $250 only because that's what I was told I was
thought I
owed.
heard Miss Amanda say that she didn't accept the $250 because you chose to
Because I
appeal.
chose to appeal.
So that's where we're at today.
And I didn't even know the process of that, other than I had to fill the paper out and have it back in 10 days.
Okay.
And when I came back before the 10 days, it might have even been on the 9th day that I did come back.
Okay.
And
So-
at that time, she gave me my check back.
Okay, all right. She said she had.
So she did the right thing, but I don't know what's right, and
I have a question for you. You applied for the beautification grant?
yes, I did.
Did they extend the time for you? Because they only give you 6 months to complete it.
Well,
He wasn't actually accepted into it. That's where we lost communication. I don't know.
yeah. And that's when I started looking for somebody to do my windows. So I ended up getting Windows Direct out of Bedford Heights.
Okay, so you never received, you didn't get approval for the grant?
No.
No, because she said, well, just let's hold it here until you get something done. And it took a while to get somebody to do windows at the right price. And as it was, 13 windows cost me $9,200.
Well, you know how that beautification program works is you get an estimate first, you get accepted into the program, and then the work starts and you receive your funds.
Well,
You don't do
I
the-
did
you don't
not know
do-
that either, Dante. I guess what they say is, I heard it ever since I was a young man, is ignorance of the law is no excuse. I guess that's the way it goes. It might be different. I don't remember it all, but that's what I've heard. And so in this case, I guess I'm pleading ignorance and pay up.
Yeah, with your health issues, I remember speaking to you and transferring you to Deb. So, I was trying to work with you.
You know, and I was trying to work with you, but we didn't have any communications like the other girl. She was here. She said she called your office and you didn't answer.
I spoke with her. I gave her an extension.
And when I asked you, finally when I had contact with you, I asked you if you called my painter back.
No, I spoke with you 3 or 4 times.
And then I called you and you didn't answer me back.
Me and you have spoke many times.
Not many times.
3 or 4 at least. And
Well, that's not many.
Okay, all right, okay.
And I didn't come here to argue with
That's
anybody.
not arguing, it's a communication piece, but now, my thing is, when you get something that says if If something's don't happen by this date, I'm gonna be charged $375. I would investigate it and making sure I would do that. That's,
Well,
I don't wanna get no little battery at you either. So I'm gonna ask the board, what's your pleasure with Mr. Clark?
I still have to comment on something here. You say you have a painter hired.
I do.
Do you have a contract?
I don't know if this is actually a contract or it's an estimate, but when the house on Central Ave, right next door to mine, ended up in the city's lap, I didn't complain because it really made my house look good. And then you guys put it up for sale and somebody bought it, a guy by the name of Scott. He already had my painter under contract on Wayne Street.
And that was another reason we didn't bother with your house, because how could we write you up for a property that we own next door that was in bad shape as well? So there's a lot of things that we, kind of bent over, backwards for you to, help and process that.
Well, I guess I didn't have the right line of thinking with the process, which I knew nothing about. And I guess it was paid a $50 fine, and that's what I did.
Do you have a contract? Can I submit whatever you have to the board?
I don't know if this is part of it, but this is.
Do you have another question, ma'am?
Yes. He says he's got an estimate there and he's waiting on the painter. Okay, I know how these contractors are. You can't get them to put an ending date on their contracts, but they'll try to get you in 2/15/19. It was signed? Okay.
Does anybody else want to see this?
My thing is, it went past the deadline.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. This is administrative penalty. It was not it's just a penalty. So you didn't meet the qualification for what needs to be done, so there's a penalty. So that's what we're here for, the second administrative penalty. You paid the first one, you paid the $50, but now you have another one that's assessed. So do you have any more questions?
Okay, so his estimate was signed on 2/15/19. Okay, that's a long time to wait for a painter.
Well, when did the COVID hit? Because when he
2020.
came down here with me,
2020. I thought I heard the bid said 2019. COVID came 2020.
A year later.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay,
So, any other questions, ma'am?
no.
I would like to entertain a motion from the board with your pleasure. Mr. Rhodes, do it, Mr. Klein.
I motion that he pays the $375.
So that means we're going to deny the appeal?
Right. Yeah. They said deny the appeal.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded that we deny the appeal. Roll call?
Mr. Walt Matthews,
Yes.
Miss Allison Will,
Yes.
Miss Janice Warner,
Yes.
Miss Sharon Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, our next meeting is this Thanksgiving? Is this the week of Thanksgiving? November 24th.
Yeah, we probably will not have it. I don't know what we're going to do for Thanksgiving.
We have a case, yeah, we do have an appeal, so we could possibly move the
It's not
date.
mine.
We may move
Maybe
it.
the week before.
Don't be mine this time.
Oh, it's not Dante's.
That is, I gotta have enough.
So we won't have a meeting in November or December?
No, I think we're going to have to move the November meeting probably up a week. 'Cause normally it's the
Like
last
17th,
Tuesday,
okay.
so it'll be the third Tuesday because of Thanksgiving. And then we do have one appeal.
That'll be your 4:30.
And then Christmas, we don't have anything?
We probably will not.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
so how long do I have to pay the fine?
30 days.
30 days.
I got $250 check already made out.
I can take the 250 tonight, and then the additional you'll have 30 days.
I was told by umpteen people that this is how it was gonna come out, but you never know.